Hi, all. This is Professor Tina Good, and I wanted to send you this video about the assignment we are doing on the Merchant of Venice this week. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can take a look at the assignment. Sorry for the delay. Okay, so here is the assignment. It states in a 1 to 2 page double-spaced, in one to two typed and double-spaced pages, write Jessica's story. Now, you'll recall that Jessica is the daughter of Shylock, who falls in love with Lorenzo, a non-Jewish person, a Christian person, and they run away together to Portia's island. Jessica, while virtually a silenced character in this story, she does have some really important lines, which I think we need to pay close attention to. She is the only person who is actually a part of Shylock's world and becomes a part of Portia's world, right? So she is an immensely important character when beginning to understand this play that merges two stories together, the story of Shylock and the story of Portia. But this is a little bit different assignment than what you've had in the past. And this is that I want you to take your hand a little bit at some creative writing. Okay, so you do not have to write your narrative as a play. You don't have to write it as dialogue, nor do you have to use Shakespearean language. Feel free to use, the language that we use today, or play around with it a bit. You can play around with iambic pentameter if you want. You can play around with Shakespearean prose if you want, but you certainly don't have to, okay? The climax, however, of your narrative about Jessica should revolve around her choice to leave her father. Like what is going on there? What leads up to that choice, and what are the consequences thereafter? I want you to use the Aristotelian plot formula, which I'll go over in just a second, when doing your narrative, but also assume your readers are familiar with the Merchant of Venice, but you still have to develop Jessica's character, right? It should be able to almost stand alone, even if they don't know the story of Merchant of Venice, but assume that they do know it. Consider these questions. Do you want your audience to like her, to not like her? Importantly, what are her conflicts and what are her motivations? You decide what those conflicts are. You decide what her motivations are, and be very, very specific with your details. Remember, this is very short, right? It's 1 to 2 pages. You cannot write all of Jessica's life, right? But the part that you do write, I want you to be very descriptive and really develop her character as far as it goes. That wraps around that central conflict of her leaving her father. Okay, so this is very much in the vein of the novel, The Secret Confessions of Anne Shakespeare, right? We have no idea what Anne Shakespeare's life was like. We have no idea, what she did on a day-to-day basis, what her relationship was with her husband. We know some things. We know that she did have these 2 children with him. We do know that she stayed in Avalon while he went to London. We do know that Hamnet died, but that's about it. We know a little bit about Shakespeare's father, but that's about it. We don't really know a lot about Anne Shakespeare. So the author, imagines, right, and creates this entirely fictional story, to highlight what it might have been like to be a woman living in Renaissance times. Okay, so that's what I want you to think about, right? Imagine Jessica's story. You cannot change the events of the play, right? You cannot change the events of the play to make your story. You can certainly reinterpret them. And you don't have to write the whole story once again, just enough to have a complete story of Jessica that shows this conflict. Okay, so let me stop sharing this and show you what I mean by an Aristotelian formula. I know those of you who are participating in Zoom sessions already know this, but I want to make it very clear to you who are not able to attend those Zoom sessions. Okay, so here's sort of the plot outline, right, for Shakespeare's plays. Okay, and this is very much based on the rules that Aristotle, remember Renaissance is, rebirth of the classical period. So Shakespeare draws on Aristotle's ideas of the proper format of a play. And you'll notice, unlike today, we have this pyramid where we build up and we build up and we build up until we get to this climactic point. And then after that, we have the consequences, right? And you'll notice that this side of the pyramid and this side of the pyramid are equal. That in fact, our climax must come in the middle of the play, right? In Shakespeare's time, this would have been in Act 3. It must come in Act 3, right? So what do I mean by climax? Well, here we have, our main characters will have this conflict. And this part of the play is building up that conflict, setting a context for that conflict, beginning to introduce us to the characters, who they are, what motivates them, maybe some description. And you decide how much setting. Obviously in Shakespeare, there's not a lot of setting. We get a little bit, but not a lot. You decide how much setting you want. The most important thing is the character development and the conflict. That builds up until it gets to the very middle of your story. However long your story is, your conflict should come right in the middle, okay? And that should be a climactic event that is the result of this conflict, right? A climactic event that forces Jessica, in this case, or our main characters, to make a decision. That just because this event has happened, a decision must be made. Okay, and even a non-decision is still a decision. Okay, so that this event has happened, something is going to change as a result of that decision. Okay, and then after that, the last half of your story, right, should be the consequences of that decision, right? What has happened? What happens as a result of that decision? And thereby we get a resolution of the conflict. Whatever happens here, whatever decision is made here is what determines what happens on this side. Notice, guys, that this is not the same as like today, where, today we would have, if you go to movies or anything like that, you would go and you would have this build up, build up, build up, build up, build up, build up, build up. And then most of the time, you don't have this sharp moment of climax, but you have the sort of extended climactic event that would come out to like maybe to here, right? And then your resolution would be very, very short, very, very short. So this is a little bit different way of writing for you than what you're used to. Even if you don't write in what you've consumed in 21st century. But so this will take you a little bit of time to consider, here's your climax, and the last half of your play needs to be the result of the decision made at the moment of this climax. Okay? So I want you to have fun with this. I want you to enjoy this, but I also want you to sort of go through, this sort of understanding of what Shakespeare needed to do in order to develop his characters, develop his plotline, and to develop that sense of consequence, right, for everything that came before. Okay, so I hope you found this useful. Have fun with your assignment. Good luck with it. And I look forward to reading them. Have a good day.